Hey everybody, thanks for checking out today's video. So a while back, we did a video, what it's like to live, work, and play right here in Staten Island, New York. And quite honestly, we wanted people asking us, what are the pros and cons about living in Staten Island, New York? Well, today's video is the update for that video. So let's get right into it today, shall we? What's up everybody? My name is George S. Wonica. I am a local realtor right here in Staten Island, New York, and I've lived in Staten Island for well over 50 years at this point now. So one of the things that we are going to have a conversation about today are what are the pros and cons of living right in Staten Island? Has anything changed since the last video we did? And quite frankly, there is one thing that I love now about living in Staten Island, New York, but to get that, that's gonna be at the end of the video, so make sure you watch the entire video and don't cheat and go to the back. Anyway, let's get right into what are the pros and cons of living right here in Staten Island, New York. Well, let's talk about one of the biggest pros about living in Staten Island is, quite frankly, the affordability. When comparing Staten Island to the other 5 boroughs, there is no comparison. Staten Island is the most affordable borough when it comes to housing, when it comes to pretty much just about anything. Now, but it does come with cons though, because we still do live in a major metropolitan city. When you start comparing the prices of homes to other parts of the country, Staten Island is definitely one of the most expensive part, but that's what you get when you're living right outside of a major metropolitan city. Now, with that being said, one of the other things that we want to have a conversation about is the other boroughs, right? In order to live in the 5 boroughs, if you're talking about Manhattan, if you're talking about Brooklyn, you're talking about parts of Queens, are some of the most expensive real estate around the country, quite honestly. Which is why, even though Staten Island has a higher housing stock, we're meaning more regular types of houses, detached houses, townhouses, and things of that nature, and people look at them and say, well, the prices are still kind of high. In comparison to the other 5 boroughs, Staten Island is definitely one of the more affordable boroughs. What's another thing that I love about Staten Island, New York, is quite frankly, we are known as the borough of parks. We have more parkland than any other borough, bar none. We're including that the old Fresh Kills landfill is getting ready to be turned into 100% a park. That's right. We used to have the largest dump in the world on Staten Island, New York, which was kind of a con, but now it's being turned into a gigantic park, which is actually going to be bigger than Central Park itself, which is kind of a neat little fact there. Now, because we are the borough of parks, one of the things that we do have is a lot of green space. We have 3 golf courses, public golf courses on Staten Island with 1 private golf course. And because we have a lot of these green space, which is obviously it's a pro, a lot of things that come over like that green space. Now, what am I talking about? Well, quite honestly, when I was growing up in Staten Island, initially, we didn't have any real wildlife with exceptional, the occasional mice, the raccoons, things of that nature. But now we've got deer. Yes, we have deer. The deer love Staten Island so much, they said, we're gonna swim across the Kilvan Cull and we're gonna take refuge. And now we have a huge population of deer. Now you might say, well, George, why is that a positive or a negative? Well, it's a negative because the things that come with the deer, such as ticks. So when you go to these parks and go to enjoy these things, one of the also things you want to make sure that you're doing is protecting yourself with deer repellent. Notice the signs where it says that there might have been ticks previously and that kind of stuff, and keep your distance away from the deer. That's another thing. You want another con? Unfortunately, we have turkeys. Yes, Staten Island has turkeys, and they're everywhere. How did they get out? It started off, they were at the South Beach Psych area, and then they just went nuts. You can see them legitimately on all parts of the island. It used to be they only stayed at one spot or another spot. They're all over the place now. I live on the North Shore of Staten Island, and they're over here now too. So they made the trek over Toad Hill, and now they're coming over to the North Shore as well. Same thing with deer. We have deer on the North Shore. Imagine that. We do have some green spots on the North Shore, but to see deer walking around the golf course, things of that nature, it's definitely kind of wild. Another pro about Staten Island, New York, quite frankly, it's the food. We have some of the best restaurants, and when you're living in New York City or a suburb of New York City, everybody always talks about Manhattan. Manhattan, the best restaurants, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? Staten Island definitely gives Manhattan a run for their money when it comes to the restaurants that we have on Staten Island, New York. So much good food, so much to pick from, many different types of food. different ethnicity types of food as well. So there is, you name it, you can probably find it here on Staten Island. They do got some great pizza on Staten Island as well. A couple of my favorites, Danino's is always a top-notch place that I go to when I want a good slice of pizza. Great family owns that. And there's a lot of different places that I like to go to and just go and hang out. Now, what's the con to having all these good restaurants? People are like, there's a con? Yeah, there's a con. Because sometimes you go to these places and they're full. The restaurants are completely full. And if you don't make a reservation or get there early enough, sometimes you're out of luck. That's definitely a pro and a con in the same question mark. Now, people like to always have conversations about what's it like living 45 minutes from the major city. Well, in some cases that can be good, right? Because you're 45 minutes away from the hustle, the bustle, the this, the that. You get on the ferry, or if you want to drive in, which you don't want to do nowadays with congestion pricing, that's a separate video. But here's the thing. As great as it is to live 45 minutes away from the best city in New York, in the world, in New York, jobs, etc., and the fact that, and I mentioned it earlier in this video, the fact that you have 4 different ways that you can get off of Staten Island, 5 if you include the ferry, they all center around one thing: traffic, congestion, a car. If you don't have those things, ladies and gentlemen, it's impossible to get around. And even with a car, everyone now has one. So traffic is still a major con right here in Staten Island, New York. Now me, I know how to get around Staten Island. I know when to miss certain times. I know where to not go at certain times. I know what streets not to take at certain times. And if you want to do that, if you want to know my secrets to that kind of stuff, then you got to let me know. You got to shoot me an email or send me a private message on one of the social medias, and I'll make sure I tell you my little tips and tricks to how to get around Staten Island at a certain time. Make sure you don't tell nobody. And then now for the last thing that we're going to talk about today, I'm going to make you wait for just one more second because I got to do a little plug here, right? So as I said earlier, I am a local realtor right here in Staten Island, New York. If you are thinking of moving into this area, I would love to sit down and have a conversation with you, whether it be on Zoom or social medias, etc., about what Staten Island has to give for you, or if it works for you, or what areas that is. So you got to make sure you do me a favor. You got to reach out on the numbers listed below. Definitely check out the email. Let's get to the point where y'all really came for, which is the last pro and con of Staten Island, New York. You've been waiting for this. I know it's huge, but here it is. The last pro of Staten Island, New York is the people. And what do I mean by the people? I love where I live. I love Staten Island. And the best part that I love about Staten Island is the people that are here. What I mean by the people, listen, all walks of life nowadays, everyone's gonna have disagreements on stuff, but Staten Island takes care of Staten Island. And what I mean by that is when your neighbors are in need, or people have things happen to them. Superstorm Sandy is a perfect example. The Staten Island community comes together, and we don't worry about anybody else taking care of us. When it comes, it's great. But we take care of each other. And that is the best thing, as far as I'm concerned, about where I live and in this community, is that Staten Island takes care of Staten Island. Tons of people that do nothing but charity work. There's so many different types of organizations that you can do to give back to this community, which is one of the reasons that I really, really love exactly where I live. The con, unfortunately, to that, because there's always a con to it, while it's great, there's just so many worthwhile organizations that you can be a part of or contribute to that at times sometimes seems it's a lot. And then you have to make the determination of what organization I feel more